Hello, everyone, and welcome back to The Rundown. I will be your host today, Craig DeLuz, coming at you from the West Coast, the left coast, behind the Iron Curtain, otherwise known as the Sierras. And today is Taco Tuesday.
It's raining tacos from out of the sky. Tacos, no need to ask why. Just open your mouth and close your eyes. It's raining tacos. It's raining tacos out in the street. Tacos, all you can eat. Lettuce and shells, cheese and meat. It's raining tacos. Yum, 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 yummity yum. It's like a dream. Yum.
Yum, yum, yum. Yeah, yum, 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 yum. Gotta love Taco Tuesday. Folks, we are back. We are back here in the grind, or at least I'm back in the grind. Mike is still recovering from SHOT Show 2025. It was a very, very busy time. And, when you do as many interviews in particular as Mike did, because Mike, so what he does for Arms Room Radio is he does interviews that he'll play throughout the year. So like you saw that the interviews that I did, other than a couple that need to actually be edited, I posted them as I did them, as we actually did them live, right? But a couple of them, because of some glitches and whatnot, need to be edited. In any case, but he does them. He does a bunch of them, and he'll play them throughout the year. So he spends a lot of time talking, not just during the day when he's doing the recordings, but talking to sponsors and stuff like that. And we're doing all of that. So it tends to be. And then there's, all that goes into SHOT Show. Just put it that way. Mike is still recovering, at least his voice. And, because, he is a radio guy, his voice is his brand. So, he's got to take care of it. So he will not be with us today, unfortunately. But hey, guess what? You're here. I'm here. We're here. We're going to have a good time. So just do me a favor. Just go ahead and comment, because know that I'm following your comments now. So if you want to share with us a little bit about what you think about the program, what you thought about the stuff we did at SHOT, or about any of the topics today, feel free to go ahead and chime in. Let us know what's up. Let us know what you think, because I would love to hear from you. Let's go ahead and get into the show today. But you know what we got to do first? The first thing that we have to do is we have to give a quick shout out to our sponsors. We're going to start with Hitman Industries. Hitman Industries, the best in rifle and pistol caliber barrels on the market. If you're looking to do a brand new build, or maybe you're looking to rebarrel your current rifle, check them out today. And if you're a first responder, never purchased from before, you're going to get a discount. So check them out at hitmanindustries.net. Then we've got the California Republican Assembly. Ronald Reagan once referred to CRA as the conscience of the Republican Party, working to help elect conservatives at all level of government, from school board all the way up to President of the United States. Go to their website and check them out at cragop.org. That's cragop.org. If you want to be a part of California's future today, you got to join CRA. And then you've got the top in concealed carry tactical holsters on the market at hogholsters.com. That's HAWG, helping Americans wear guns. Hogholsters.com. Now, if you use the discount code The Rundown, all caps, no spaces, just like it is right up there, you're going to get a discount on us. So check them out today at hogholsters.com. And then finally, y'all had a chance to meet Scott. You had a chance to talk with Scott last week. Scott, phenomenal individual. He is the owner of uscombatgear.com, the place where you can find all things tactical except the gun. So check them out today. Once again, uscombatgear.com. All right, let's go ahead and get into today's program. Once again, I know it sounds like I sound like a broken record, but let's just be real. Trump is winning. Trump has not even been president. Oh no, I take that back. He has been president for a week. He's been president for a week and not even a full day. And he just keeps winning, doing the things that he said he would do, making the promises that he made, keeping the promises that he said he would keep. And one of those big promises had to do with dealing with the deportation of those who are in this country illegally. Basically, in essence, attempting to reverse, to the degree that is possible, the mass invasion at our southern border, thanks to our former president, Joe Biden. But nonetheless, there's a lot of fear-mongering going on the left, pushing a lot of false narratives behind what's going on throughout this country.
News at this hour as well. President Trump now authorizing ICE to target schools and churches in its deportation raids. He is revoking a directive excluding arrests in so-called sensitive areas. Chicago's immigrant community on edge tonight as Michelle Gallardo reports. Activists and elected officials are canvassing neighborhoods, letting people know their rights should ICE come knocking.
Up and down Cermak Avenue today, business after business prominently displayed the same flyer. Don't open for ICE. Little Village business owners telling us it's the least they can do.
La gente debe estar unida.
People need to stick together, no matter their immigration status, says Jose Luis Vasquez, who's owned this computer and phone repair shop for 9 years now. A few blocks away at the Little Village Arch, a handful of activists braved the sub-zero wind chills to rally against the Trump administration's stated plans to conduct mass deportation raids in Chicago.
We've been out here since 5 in the morning, educating our community, educating our people that they have rights.
Among those canvassing the neighborhood was 22nd Ward Alderperson Michael Rodriguez, who spent the morning passing out informational flyers, instructing people what to say should ICE come knocking.
Este le puede entregar a la inmigración.
There was, to be sure, little in terms of foot traffic in Little Village today. And while much of that may very well be related to the cold, there is most certainly fear.
So there's a lot that's going on here, a lot of things that they're pushing in regards to a lot of this stuff. And a lot of it is all based on lies. So, for example, one of the things they're talking about is that they're going into schools and they're going after immigrants there in schools. In fact, there was one rumor, and this was being pushed pretty much everywhere in the mainstream media, that that ICE agents had actually showed up to a school in Chicago.
Breaking news. New details tonight after Chicago Public Schools said they were paid a visit from ICE.
Federal immigration officers say that did not happen, and now we know it was a different agency at the school in the back of the yards. Casey Kronos is live on the southwest side with the very latest. Casey.
Don and Scott, there's been an unexpected and bizarre turn of events here. It wasn't ICE that showed up at the school today, but the Secret Service investigating a threat tied to the TikTok ban. The false alarm unfolded at Hamline Elementary School near 48th and Bishop in the city's back of the yards neighborhood. A spokesperson for CPS tells us this morning agents claiming to be from ICE arrived. Staff followed protocols, kept them outside, and contacted CPS's law department, but ICE quickly debunked the claim. And instead, the U.S. Secret Service says they were in the neighborhood responding to a threat related to the recent TikTok ban. They first responded to an area home, but the person they were looking for wasn't there, so they went to the school. That's where Secret Service officials say they handed off their business card and left. It's unclear if the
So the point there being is exactly what's going on. Now, I'm not going to be against, I'm not going to say that any officer who is investigating a crime or something like that, I'm not saying you never go to the school, but I am going to say this. I am a school board member. Hold on. Let me pull this up. I want you to see me when I say this. I'm a school board member, right? I will say this. We as a policy in our school district, we're like this. Unless you have a warrant, you are not accessing. And if you are a law enforcement agency, any law enforcement agency, whether it be ICE, Sacramento County PD, or Sacramento City PD, sheriff, no matter who you are, if you don't have a warrant and you come and you want to get access to a student, a staff member, or student records, no, you're not going to be allowed to have access to it. And that's with any law enforcement. That's largely just, largely because not because we don't want the law enforced, but we also just want to make sure that due process has taken place, right? We want to make sure that we're not having people showing up at our school just because, well, hey, we want to go look for people of color. Now, mind you, that doesn't happen. I don't believe that happens. We just seen evidence that the one incident that they've been able to point to where they said it happened, turns out it was fake news. But I want to make sure that students are still showing up to school, that people aren't worried or concerned about what's going on and that they're showing up to school. Period. Because that's my job. That's my job as a school board member. That's our job as educators. But the point is that the left is making what they do is that the left, what they do is that they lie, right? And what they do is they fearmonger. They say this policy is going to do this and this policy is going to do that and it's doing this and it's doing that. even when it's not. And what winds up happening when they do that, people react to that, right? A great example, the issue with the abortion limitations there in Georgia. Both of the women that have been promoted, or not promoted, both of the stories of women that have died from taking the abortion pill died not because there was a restriction on abortions in Georgia. It was because they went and they got the abortion pill, which they were told was safe. And then when they had complications, in one case, they didn't seek medical attention because they were afraid they were going to be jailed, even though the law doesn't say that, but media and Democrats said that it did. Or in another case, the hospital would not take action, the appropriate action, because they were afraid that someone would be arrested. Even though, once again, by the way, Democrats said that, not because of what the law actually said. And that's what bothers me about this fear-mongering that they do, because it affects how people react to it, and then they want to blame the law, but it's not the law's fault. It's their fear-mongering. It's their lying that winds up creating this problem, that winds up affecting how people react. So part of this is, and part of the reason why I'm like, well, we want to make sure they have warrants is, number one, we want to make sure that the law is being enforced, right? You show up with a warrant, you get what you came for. You get what's on the warrant, right? But number two, we also make sure that there's due process, right? If someone is a violent criminal, and by the way, to be clear, the emphasis, at least initially, on a lot of this deportation stuff is violent criminals, and you can hear it from the mouth of the border czar himself.
So forget the false narrative of sweeping neighborhoods looking for people different color than us. Forget that hogwash, and look at what we actually did. We're proving it to them. How can you argue with the system we've set up?
Well, straight up, are you going into schools and arresting children at schools?
No.
Is anything like that happening?
No, sir.
Are you going into businesses and sweeping through there and taking anybody with a tan and seeing where they're from?
We go into businesses for a criminal enforcement operation, but again, sweeps don't occur anywhere.
The sweeps are not occurring. You're just not going in.
Exactly. So he's made it very clear. Sweeps are not occurring. Right? When they go after people, they're going after individuals who have been identified as criminals, right? They're going after people who have been arrested in some cases multiple times, and released by local authorities that happen to be, in sanctuary cities. These are people who have committed crimes since they've been here. In some cases, we're talking rape. In some cases, we're talking muggings and robbery. In some cases, we're talking serious crimes in many cases. Now, the one thing that they did acknowledge is that if they're going after someone who's a hardened criminal, who is a criminal alien, and, someone who happens to be just here illegally, is swept up, then yeah, you're likely going to face, you're likely going to be detained. You're likely going to be taken into custody if you're here illegally. Because guess what? You're here illegally. In other words, they're not looking for you, but if they find you there, well then you better be a little worrisome. So number one, watch out who you're hanging out with. If you're hanging out with criminals, just saying. But I'm going to be honest. I seriously believe that in the end, what's going to wind up happening is, as they go after, and mind you, there are tens of thousands of these folks that we're talking about that are, once again, these criminal aliens that are out there. By the way, just by the numbers, just real quick, everything you want to know about Trump's mass deportation, ICE is saying they're doing about 1,000 daily, 1,000 daily arrests. It says here, daily immigration arrests exceeded 1,000 for the first time since President Donald Trump took office Monday. By the way, just to be clear, that even before Donald Trump took office, these are unprecedented numbers. Anyway, let me keep going. Authorities said following the escalation across the country in recent days as part of what Trump has promised to be the largest deportation operation in U.S. history. And yes, it is. And here you see some things that have happened. I'm going to go down to the bottom here, and then go up to the top. So we have here January 20th, when he became president, Trump signed a string of executive orders targeting immigration shortly after he was sworn in. The military was ordered to the border, not so that they could be arresting people, but in order to help provide some infrastructure, in order to help provide some administrative services, so that the Border Patrol agents, whose job it is to be arresting people, we can get them off of babysitting duty and get them to doing what they should be doing, and that is enforcing our border. January 21st, ICE and Border Patrol agents have been ordered to deport people across the border without authorization immediately and conduct expedited removals for people found within the interior of the United States, CBS reported, while major raids are expected in various cities. Now, once again, they just told you, the only raids that are happening are on criminal aliens, people who they know have committed crimes since they've been here. Now, if you happen to be hanging out with them, well, you get got. That happens. Anyway, January 25th, Brazil's Ministry of Foreign Affairs demanded answers over what it said was degrading treatment of deportees on the U.S. military flight that arrived there Friday carrying 88 passengers, some of whom they're saying arrived in handcuffs. Once again, these were criminal deportees. These were people who committed crimes here in the United States. So yeah, we're sending your criminals back to you. And trust me, I am 100% confident that once they go back into your jails, they will be treated much worse than they were treated here in the United States. January 26th, White House said Colombia backed down from its promise to block military deportation flights after Trump threatened tariffs and economic sanctions against the country if it did not accept U.S. military planes carrying deported migrants. In other words, F around and find out. Fine, you don't want to take your criminals back? Let's see, we'll institute these tariffs on you, right? You will get these economic sanctions, because we know you depend on us. Well, the president there, the socialist Marxist president there of Colombia, then issued this long letter talking about, we will not be intimidated. And then they said, yeah, no, we'll take them. Yeah, that was hilarious. Anyway, here's January 26th, White House border czar Tom Homan, who was on the ground in Chicago alongside acting Deputy Attorney General Emile Beauvais, told CNN ICE would initially prioritize criminal aliens, which is what we always said and what they've always been doing, as many public safety and national security threats as possible. January 26th, ICE launched enhanced targeted operations in Chicago in partnership with the FBI and other federal agencies, while immigration enforcement actions were also reported in Atlanta, Puerto Rico, Colorado, Los Angeles, Austin, Texas, according to CNN. Also on the 26th, the administration said arrests could pick up quickly. The Washington Post reports ICE officials have been told to aim for 1,200 to 1,500 daily arrests, including at least 75 arrests by each agency, roughly 24 field offices. Anyway, folks, the point here is that Donald Trump is doing what he said he was going to do. He has said that he was going to be working to remove people, in particular, first and foremost, criminal aliens, people who are in this country illegally. He said he was going to go out of his way to try and make sure that they got removed from this country. Sounds like it's happening. At 1,000 a day, yeah, it sounds like it is. It sounds like it's happening. And just in case you don't know, that's a good thing. That's actually a very good thing, right? He's doing what he said he would do. And that, by the way, I want to be very clear. Polls show 85% of voters, of American voters, want criminal aliens removed. People who have committed crimes either before they got in this country, basically people who came out of the jails of other countries, they want them removed. 66% or over 70% want those who entered our country illegally, they want them removed. So he's doing what he said he would do, and he's doing what the American people voted for him to do. Here we had a comment from Sharon Hayes over on Facebook. Why do people need to warn people don't open for ICE? If you cause some killers to kill, you should be charged with connection to those deaths. These aren't nice people. These are people that came into the country illegally and have no record of them. We knew there were gangs. And one in Colorado has already been apprehended. No one stopped ICE, and no one should even think about it. Well, one of the things I want you to know about this is this. In particular, in the first group of the criminal things that they're doing, the going after of the criminal aliens, in several cases, they're surveilling these folks before they apprehend them. So they know who's there. When they go in, they know who's there, or at least they have a good idea who's there. They know that the criminal alien is there, and they're not going in asking, right? They're not going in asking. So as they're removing the criminal aliens, trust me, someone saying, yeah, no, I'm not going to talk to immigration ain't going to work, because these guys are going in. I'm assuming they're going in with warrants. I could be wrong. I just tell you right now, but I'm assuming that they have warrants to go after these folks. These are people who are, once again, are known criminals. Known criminals. Let me say it again. Known criminals. These are not innocent people. And once again, by the way, I just wanted to reiterate, and I agree with the message that was sent forth by the new press secretary. By the way, by the border czar, if you entered this country illegally, if you violated our border laws, our immigration laws by entering the country illegally, or illegally staying beyond illegally staying beyond your visa, right? You've been given permission to be here for a certain period of time and you illegally stayed beyond it. You have broken the law. By definition, you are a criminal. I'm not saying you're a violent criminal. It doesn't make you a violent criminal, but you're a criminal. So just to be clear, but once again, their focus is on violent criminals initially, at least initially. Now, what this is going to do, and here's what's happening. You hear about all this stuff. You see all this media. What that means is and you've already seen it. The number of people approaching the southern border, trying to cross the southern border, has gone down significantly to almost nothing. We reported on that last week, right? And you're also seeing the messages that are coming out very clear to everyone around the world. Don't come, because it's going to be all bad for you. And so they're not coming. So number one, it's the message. People are getting the message. If you ain't coming legally, don't come. And number two, when they do come, they're getting turned around. And the people that are here, I think that eventually we're going to get a handle on the people who are recently here. I think we're going to wind up, the people who were recently here, I think we're going to wind up removing most, if not all of them. Obviously on a case-by-case basis. Those that have been here for a while, I think we're going to probably, once again, on a case-by-case basis, see it's probably more likely that they will stay than go. But I think you're going to see some compromises start to come out of Congress in order to get a handle around this illegal immigration problem. And it's only going to happen because Donald Trump stood his ground on these policies. So yay to Donald Trump, yay for America. Things are, once again, continuing to go great. All right, moving on to our next story, and this is also related to this. Cartels aren't happy because human trafficking is a big early Monday afternoon. Rio Grande Valley sector border patrol enforcement activities south side of the river. Officials south side of the river. Officials indicate no arrests have been made. Border Patrol officials have no comment regarding their current status on the matter. Interesting. So, folks, here's what's going on. Once again, they are now realizing that they are losing a big chunk of their money, and they are responding the way in which cartels respond, and that is violently, with violence, right? They're going to do what they can to try and hold on to that cash, right? That's what they're going to do. Anyway, there's a whole lot more that's going to be going on, and I am excited. I'm not excited to see that they're doing that. I am excited, however, to know that that our border is being enforced. I'm excited to know that things are happening and positive things are happening when it comes. And, once again, people who are being hurt by this, the cartels, they're going to respond a certain way. And that's what they're doing. And so the fact that they're fighting back is a sign that it's hurting them. Anyway. One of the other promises that was made by Trump when he campaigned was that we would find out what was going on with these drones, right? Interestingly enough, because for some reason, and I don't know why, the Biden administration refused to tell us what the deal was with all of these drones. And you remember there were a bunch of drones there in New Jersey, and for some reason, I cannot for the life of me figure out why, for some reason, the Biden administration just decided that they just weren't going to tell us anything. They weren't actually going to reveal what the heck was going on. Well, as it turns out, they knew. They knew the entire time. Or maybe they didn't know the entire time, but they either knew. So they were either incompetent and no one knew, or, anyway. So here, it says here, here we go. Leavitt, the new press secretary, Leavitt reveals New Jersey drones authorized by FAA in first press briefing of the Trump administration. So once again, promise made, promise kept. It says here, White House press secretary Caroline Leavitt said the mysterious drones flown across New Jersey in late 2024 were authorized to be flown by the FAA in the first press briefing of President Donald Trump's second administration. Quote, I do have news directly from the President of the United States that was just shared with me and in the Oval Office. From President Trump directly, an update in the New Jersey drones, Leavitt said. After research and study, the drones were flying over New Jersey in large numbers, were authorized to be flown by the FAA for search and various other reasons. Many of these drones were also hobbyists, recreational and private individuals that enjoy flying drones, she said. In time, it got worse due to curiosity. This was not the enemy. Now, one has to wonder, why couldn't Biden just say that? See, once again, because I do stuff because I do stuff in film, I know a lot of people who have drones and fly them for film purposes. And so what they'll tell you is that in particular, in many cases, at certain points in certain places, you have to actually get approval to fly your drone, right? And so what they're saying is it was at a certain height or a certain distance or anything like that. So what they're saying is these drones got clearance from the FAA. So they knew some of them were hobbyists, some of them may have been film folks. And what happened was as people started reporting on drones being up in New Jersey, more people wanted to see it. So what did they do? They sent up a drone. This is not that hard to figure out. I mean, there's no national secret here. Why couldn't they just tell us this? One has to wonder, right? Well, I'll tell you why they didn't want to tell us, because they're incompetent. Because they are incompetent. And the other thing was, it was a big enough story that it kept people from reporting on the complete and utter abject failure that the Biden administration has been, especially during its final days. I mean, as it closed out, the Biden administration has been an epic failure. We know this. Anyway, so that's what's going on with the drones. Once again, I said it before and I'll say it again. Promise made, promise kept. All right, that now brings us to our final story. The liberal doomsday clock. And I call it the liberal doomsday clock because it always seems to react a certain way when Democrats are president of the United States and a different way when Republicans are president of the United States, despite the fact that Republicans tend to do a much better job of keeping our enemies afoot or at bay, letting them know not to F around and find out. But anyway, all that happens is as soon as we get a conservative as president of the United States, well, then guess what happens to the doomsday clock? That's right, you guessed it. It gets moved over closer to midnight. By the way, the way it works is the closer we are to midnight, the closer we are to the end of the world. And that's what they're saying here. CNN, Doomsday Clock 2025, scientists set new time. These are not scientists. These are a bunch of liberal activists. These are not scientists who are doing this. All right. They may be, let me clarify. Their profession may be scientists, or they may claim to be scientists. They may engage in science, but that's not what this is about. It says here, 78 years ago, scientists created a unique sort of timepiece named the Doomsday Clock as a symbolic attempt to gauge how close humanity is to destroying the world. Right? On Tuesday, the clock was set at 89 seconds to midnight, the closest the world has ever been to that marker, according to the Bulletin of the Atomic Scientists, which established the clock in 1947. Midnight represents the moment at which, yeah, you would pop up right now. No, I'm not going to subscribe to you. Where was I at? Midnight represents the moment at which the people will have made Earth uninhabitable, because it's a given that the people of Earth will make things uninhabitable. Not that eventually over time, the sun may burn out or something may happen. Some natural disaster may happen that happens. No, it's clearly going to be man in their eyes that does it. Anyway, for 2 years prior, the bulletin clock was set at 90 seconds to midnight, mainly due to Russia's invasion of Ukraine and a potential nuclear arms race, Israel-Hamas conflict in Gaza, and the climate crisis. Because the clock isn't designated to distinctively measure existential threats, but rather the spark of conversations about difficult scientific topics as climate change, according to the bulletin. We set the clock closer to midnight because we do not see sufficient positive progress in the global changes we face, including nuclear risk, climate change, biological threats, and advanced disruptive technologies. So in other words, they're basically saying, man is going to destroy the world. And because we now have Trump as president, it's more likely that'll happen. Anyway. All right, folks, well, that brings us to our parting shots. Parting shots are brought to you by Hog Holsters. Just go to hogholsters.com, use the discount code The Rundown, all caps, no spaces. Get your Hog Holster today. Just use the discount code The Rundown. Once again, all caps, no spaces. Our first one here today comes to us from the Babylon Bee, fake news that you can trust. During the first Monday staff meeting, there was an unexpected guest, according to the Babylon Bee. It says here, confused Joe Biden shows up to the Monday morning staff meeting. Ugh. Oh, wow, that is sad, but probably true. Maybe not. Let's see here. And then we got this next one here. One of the big arguments about immigration, about the whole crackdown on illegal immigration is, who's going to do the work that Americans won't do? This, by the way, is in spite of the fact that in many cases they're doing the work that Americans will do and undercutting their salaries or their wages in those areas, but that's a different discussion. But mostly they're talking about, and most of the argument in places like California is about who's going to pick the crops. And Democrats are the ones making this argument. As is this case of Babylon Bee, fake news that you can count on. Democrats once again concerned about who will pick their crops. Now, for those of you who are just listening to the program, what makes this incredibly funny, not incredibly funny, but ironic, is that on one side, on the right, you have immigrant farm workers, or either legal or illegal, I don't know, working in the fields, picking whatever the crop is of the day, and then on the left, you have slaves in the field picking cotton, because that, by the way, was also when Democrats were primarily concerned about who was going to pick the crops. That hits a little too close to home for some of these folks. Anyway, our last one here, and you guys are going to really love this one. I have been dealing with, let's put it this way. We've all been dealing with people with Trump derangement syndrome. And the interesting thing is that some people on the left have actually just gotten over it, and they're like, you know what? It is what it is. I guess he's not Hitler. I just don't like him. And I can handle that. You don't like Donald Trump. You may disagree with some of his policies, but at least you're starting to see that there's a reason why people supported him. Not everybody who disagrees with you is evil. Anyway, but then there are those people who just absolutely positively refuse to accept reality, who are suffering from what I like to call it is like stage 2 Trump derangement syndrome. And that's why I think you're going to love this one. Check it out.
How has the election made you feel on a scale from 1 to 10, with 10 being
Nazi.
My name is Dr. Nick Peterson, and I specialize in those suffering from TDS, Trump derangement syndrome. Hello. I'm Dr. Peterson. How are you? Well, Donald Trump is a felon. Nope. I asked how you were doing. The majority of Americans can mentally handle election results on both sides of the aisle. However, there's this small, albeit growing, group of, I don't want to say Americans, but people that are just disconnected from reality.
Fascist.
And honestly, it makes diagnosing these people a whole lot easier. I just check their social media. Gone are the days when you just search your symptoms on WebMD at home by yourself. Now they record their symptoms and post them for the world to see. The haircut is also a dead giveaway. So, what brings you in today? Oh, I don't know. Maybe it's the orange democracy-destroying Putin-loving dictator. All right, so mental illness. They are completely blind to the fact that their absurd actions and ideologies were a big factor in their party's loss. Let me ask you this. Do you even know what democracy is? Follow-up question. Do you know how Kamala Harris became the nominee? I know you're a deplorable Nazi fascist bigot. Okay, neat. Turns out that calling half the country Nazis for 4 years was not a winning strategy. And yet somehow, not even Cardi B could save them. Do you realize what I'm going through? Yep, delusions. I am losing my right to vote. What? Where are you getting your information? Whoopi Goldberg? Well, what's the remedy, you might be wondering? Well, if you ask me, it's a history lesson in Jesus, but the pharmacy doesn't offer those. I prescribe them a brain, and I send them to tryabrain.com for more information. Well, I'll show you. I'm moving to Canada. That'd be great. And I'll be shaving my head. Oh, no. And one last thing. I'm going on a sex strike. Your loss. Oh, no.
Yeah, that's the world that we're living in right now, folks. Trump derangement syndrome. And the worst part about it is they don't even, they're too stupid even, or ignorant, too stupid, too deluded. I don't want to say too stupid, because in some cases they're stupid. In some cases they're just deluded. In some cases they're so angry and blinded with the hatred that comes with Trump derangement syndrome, they can't even see how bad they are. They can't even see that they have it. But anyway, that is what it is. It's funny and sometimes it's sad, but I don't know. Regardless, it is what it is. Anyway, funny stuff. All right, folks, that brings us to the end of our program. But before we go, we got one last thing to do, and that is a quick shout out to our sponsors. We got Hitman Industries rifle and pistol caliber barrels available for you at hitmanindustries.net. We've got the conscience of the Republican Party. That was Ronald Reagan who said that. We got the California Republican Assembly. Check them out at cragop.org. We've got the best in concealed carry tactical holsters at hogholsters.com. That's HAWG holsters.com. And finally, you can get all things tactical except the gun at uscombatgear.com. That's going to be it for today's program. Please feel free to like, share, and let your folks know that this is the place to talk about 2A news and conservative views. We will be back tomorrow on Hump Day. Till then, y'all have fun, stay safe, and if you get a chance, send a few downrange. We'll holler at you tomorrow.